Have you ever picked a perfectly red, sun-ripened tomato straight from your garden, only to find it tastes watery and disappointing? Sound familiar? You feel like you did everything right, yet that sweet, rich tomato flavour just isn't there. Today, we're going to fix that. I'm going to reveal 7 proven secrets that will help you grow, not just red, but truly sweet and juicy tomatoes. And trust me, some of these methods will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about tomato care. No complicated chemistry, just smart and simple techniques. Many people believe that a tomato sweetness is simply a varietal characteristic. You buy seeds with names like honey drop or sugar giant, and boom, you're all set. But that's only half the truth. The variety is certainly important, but it only sets the potential. The true, deep flavour of a tomato comes from the right balance of sugars and acids within the fruit. And most importantly, we can and should influence this balance at every stage of growth. That's exactly what we're going to do today. So let's start with the absolute basics. Secret number 1, the right sun. And I know what you're thinking. Captain Obvious, tomatoes clearly love sun. That's true, but as always, the devil is in the details. We're not just talking about a bright spot. For a tomato to truly become sweet, it needs to accumulate sugars, and sugars are the direct result of photosynthesis. Simply put, the plant uses the energy from sunlight to convert basic elements into energy for itself, and, most importantly for us, into that delicious sweetness in the fruit. So, for this process, you don't just need light, you need a minimum of 6, and ideally 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. We're talking not diffused, not partial shade, but truly direct sun. If your tomatoes only get sun in the morning, or just a couple of hours in the afternoon, they'll certainly grow and ripen, but they'll expend all their energy on mere growth and survival, with nothing left over for that dessert. Those precious sugars. The result? That familiar, store-bought taste. Visually appealing, but ultimately bland and a little acidic. Therefore, before you jump to any other tricks, simply observe your garden. Where does the sun linger the longest? That's your VIP spot for your future sugar-sweet champions. This isn't just a tip, it's the absolute foundation. Without enough direct sun, all your other efforts will only yield half the results. Okay, we've covered the sun. Now, let's move on to some real magic and our first counterintuitive trick. Secret number 2 is all about smart watering. And here's the crucial part. To get truly sweet tomatoes, you actually need to water them less. It sounds strange, I know, but let me explain. Once the fruits on your plants have fully formed and reached their typical size for the variety, even if they're still green or just beginning to blush, that's the most critical moment. This is when you need to deliberately cut back on watering. Don't stop entirely, but make it less frequent and lighter. Your goal is to create a mild, controlled moisture deficit for the plant. What happens then? The tomato plant gets an urgent signal. Warning, drought conditions approaching. Water is scarce. We need to ensure the survival of our offspring. And what does it do? It stops expending energy on growing more foliage and instead starts actively pumping all its accumulated sugars and nutrients directly into the developing fruits. Its sole purpose is to make those fruits as concentrated and appealing as possible for whoever eats them and help spread the seeds. The result? You get rich, thick, and intensely sweet juice inside every tomato, not diluted by water. Instead of a watery consistency, you'll find a dense, meaty texture. Yes, the leaves might droop a bit during the heat of the day. That's perfectly normal. The key is that they perk up again by evening. This slight, calculated stress is precisely what transforms an ordinary red tomato into a truly sugary, incredibly flavourful one. All right, you've mastered the art of proper watering. Now let's feed our tomatoes in a way that truly rewards us with sweet, flavourful fruit. This brings us to the third secret, the right diet. And just like us, tomatoes need different nutrition at various stages of their life cycle. In the early growth stages, when the plant is developing its green foliage, nitrogen is crucial. It's the essential building block for strong leaves and sturdy stems. However, once fruits have set and started to develop, the plant's nutritional requirements shift dramatically. This is where many gardeners make a critical mistake. They continue to feed their tomatoes nitrogen-rich fertilizers out of habit, using things like grass infusions or manure tea. What happens then? The plant keeps bulking up, growing huge leaves and new suckers, while the fruit gets neglected. They might turn red, but they'll remain disappointingly sour. The secret is to significantly reduce nitrogen during the fruit development and ripening stage, and instead provide the key element for sweetness, potassium. Potassium essentially acts as a transportation system. Think of it as a little delivery truck gathering all the sugars produced in the factory leaves and transporting them directly to the storage warehouse. You're developing tomatoes. The more potassium available, the faster and more efficiently this vital process occurs. So, what's the solution? Switch to potassium-rich fertilizers. The simplest and most traditional method is a wood ash infusion. Just mix a cup of wood ash with a bucket of water, let it steep, and then water your plants at the base. Alternatively, opt for commercially available fertilizers where the K, potassium number, in the NPK ratio is the highest, such as monopotassium phosphate. Just 1 or 2 such applications, spaced 10 to 14 days apart, and you'll literally see and taste the amazing difference in your harvest. We've already cut back on watering, provided the right nutrients, and now it's time for perhaps the most unconventional method yet. Secret number 4 might sound a little harsh, but trust me, it's incredibly effective. We're going to put the plant through a small but very targeted physical stress. Remember the logic behind restricting water. When the plant feels threatened, it diverts all its energy into fruit production. The same principle applies here, but the signal to the tomato plant will be even more powerful. It's like we're telling the plant, "Hey buddy, your time's running out. Better start thinking about the next generation." And obediently, it pours all its resources into making those fruits as nutritious as possible. So what exactly does this involve? We're going to use an old gardener's trick, a tried and true method. Once the fruits on the second or third truss are well formed and starting to swell, gently grasp the main stem of the plant, just below these clusters. Then, very gently and carefully, twist the stem along its axis, almost like wringing out a damp cloth, but with minimal force. Your goal is to hear a light, almost imperceptible crunch. You're not trying to snap it off, but merely to slightly compromise the internal fibres. This micro damage won't kill the plant. Instead, it acts as a powerful alarm signal. It immediately shifts all its internal processes from vegetative growth to fruit ripening. All sugars and nutrients will then rush directly into the tomatoes. Yes, it might sound a little barbaric, but the end result, a concentrated, intensely flavoured and wonderfully sweet tomato, completely justifies this clever trick. So, we've covered sunlight, water, nutrition, and even stress. Now, let's talk about neighbours. The 5th secret to sweet tomatoes lies in choosing the right companion plants for your garden bed. Yes, plants can indeed influence each other's flavour, and it's not mysticism, it's science. Some plants release special volatile compounds, phytocides, into the soil and air. These compounds can repel pests, improve soil structure, and most interestingly for us, directly influence the chemical composition of neighbouring fruits, making their flavour brighter and richer. So who's the best friend for a sweet tomato? The undisputed champion in this regard is basil. This aromatic herb isn't just a perfect match for tomatoes in caprese salad by coincidence. Their friendship actually starts right in the garden. Basil, growing near tomato plants, repels certain pests, like whiteflies, and its essential oils, according to many gardeners, make the tomatoes' flavour deeper and sweeter. Another excellent neighbour is marigolds. Not only do they beautify the garden bed, but they also disinfect the soil from nematodes, microscopic worms that damage tomato roots. Healthy roots are key to good nutrient absorption, and good nutrition, as we already know, is the path to a sweet harvest. So when planting your tomatoes, Don't forget to invite a couple of fragrant and beneficial neighbours into their home. All right, we're almost at the finish line. Secret number 6 involves a small but incredibly important ingredient for your soil, one you likely already have in your kitchen. We're talking about regular baking soda. You might be asking, what does baking soda have to do with anything? It's simple. One of the main reasons tomatoes don't taste as sweet as they could is high soil acidity. Even if you do everything else right, if your soil is too acidic, your tomato plants will struggle to produce enough sugars. They'll be fighting for survival, not flavour. And that's exactly where baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate to be precise, comes to the rescue. It's an alkali that helps gently and quickly neutralise excess acid in the root zone. The plant can then stop expending energy, fighting an unfavourable environment, and instead focus it on developing a high-quality, flavourful harvest. So how do you use it? It's incredibly easy. Once your tomatoes are actively ripening and starting to turn red, you can give them 1 or 2 sweetening treatments. Dissolve half a tablespoon of baking soda in 10 litres of water and water your plants at the base, aiming for about half a litre per plant. Another option is a foliar spray. Mix 1 teaspoon of baking soda in 10 litres of water and spray the leaves. This won't just help make your tomatoes sweeter, it also acts as an excellent preventative measure against late blight. It's a simple, inexpensive, and highly effective way to give your harvest that extra sweetness. And now for the 7th and final secret. This one concerns the most rewarding part of all, the harvest itself. You might do everything else perfectly, but a single mistake at this stage can undo all your hard work. The right timing and method of picking can either lock in all that accumulated sweetness or cause you to lose it. Many gardeners, especially when the weather takes a turn for the worse, tend to pick their tomatoes when they're still green or just starting to blush, hoping they'll ripen indoors on a windowsill. Yes, they will turn red, but here's the crucial part. They won't get any sweeter. The entire process of sugar accumulation happens only on the vine, while the fruit is still connected to its mother plant. A picked tomato merely changes colour. Its flavour, however, remains grassy and acidic. So the key secret is this. Let your tomatoes ripen on the vine until they reach their full peak ripeness. Pick them only when they've developed that deep, uniform colour characteristic of your specific variety. The ideal time to harvest is on a warm, sunny day. These are the days when the sugar concentration in the fruit truly reaches its peak. Tomatoes picked in the morning after a cool night or during rainy weather will always be a bit more watery and less sweet. And one more small but important tip. Pick your tomatoes with the stem attached, with that little tail. This helps them store longer and better preserve their exquisite aroma. Patience during this final stage is your guarantee that you'll savour that truly rich, sun-kissed, sugary flavour you worked so hard for all summer. So, what's the real game changer? What's the hidden magic that sets an ordinary red tomato apart from one that's truly bursting with sweetness? It's a fascinating blend of 2 seemingly contradictory elements, stress and care. The most impactful secret lies in intelligent watering. Once your tomatoes have reached their full size, but are still green or just starting to blush, consciously reduce watering to a bare minimum. Don't worry if the leaves droop slightly during the day. That's perfectly normal. The plant receives a clear signal. Drought is here. It's time to channel all energy into ripening seeds and making the fruit as appealing and nutrient-dense as possible. At this critical moment, the tomato actively pumps sugars and dry matter into the fruit, rather than just water. This is how we cleverly trick nature to our advantage, achieving a concentrated, rich flavour instead of a watery one. And if, at this very moment, you apply the 3rd secret, fertilising your tomato, not with nitrogen, but with potassium, you'll supercharge this effect. Potassium acts like a vital transport system, helping to deliver all the accumulated sugars from the leaves directly into the fruit. You're not just encouraging the plant to produce sugar, you're actively helping it transport that sweetness exactly where it needs to be. This is the ultimate key to success. So, as you can see, A truly sweet tomato isn't a happy accident or simply the luck of a good variety. It's the direct result of your thoughtful cultivation, plenty of sun, intelligent watering that gently stresses the plant, proper potassium feeding, and a timely harvest. That's the straightforward formula for unbelievably delicious tomatoes. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I truly hope these secrets help you cultivate the sweetest harvest of your life. If you found these tips helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more gardening hacks and insights. Now, a question for all of you. What are your own go-to secrets for growing amazingly sweet tomatoes? Share your wisdom in the comments below, and let's build the ultimate community knowledge base together.